Hello, my friends. How are you? I'm Michelle, and this is my channel, Penny's Daughter Shares. I'm also on Instagram at Penny's Daughter Shares, if you care to follow me there. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. I talk mostly about cross stitch, but there will get some sewing and other bits and pieces of crafting now and then. I think you'll find mostly cross stitch is what I'd like to talk about. And if you've been here before, you already know that, but also welcome back. If you do like my video, would you please subscribe, hit the like button, and this is kind of a thing that I'm learning, there's a bell that you can tap down below too that will send you a notification when I post a new video. And since my schedule does not seem to be very regular, that might be helpful if you are following along. Now, before I get started, I'm trying a couple of different things today. So normally I have notes. I have notes today, but I keep them kind of down here below in front of me, and I tend to look down at them a lot. So I have tried to set them up sort of like cue cards, I guess. So I'm going to look off to the side now and then, but I think it's much better than trying to look down. I also think it will help me keep everything together or in my mind that I want to say and not forget things. I want to reintroduce myself today, or if you're new here, I guess I'm introducing myself. Like I said before, my name is Michelle, and I'm Penny's daughter. And I will describe why I named my channel that way in just a minute here. I want to tell you a little more about me as a person, I guess, first, or remind you if that's what the case may be. So I am a married mom. I've been married to my Jeff for 23 years. And actually this year coming up, we'll celebrate 25 years of our first date. And we count that as our inseparable date because we were inseparable from the time we had our first date. Let's see. We have 3 kids. Our oldest is Mitchell, and he's 21, and he's in college. Our middle son is Justice. He's 13 and in 7th grade. And then we have Vivian, who is our youngest, and she is 11. She's in 5th grade. My day doesn't feel complete if I haven't stitched. And I don't know how many of you out there feel that same way, but what I remember, and it's been a while, but Liz on Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch, she had this episode and she said, crafting is life. And it really, I feel that same exact way. It's just, my day's not complete without at least a few stitches in it. I was away from it for at least 25 years, and more on that in just a second. I had a conversation with Jeff, and now I'm not going to remember the exact dates. I'm going to say it was going into the new year of 2021, I'm pretty sure. And think about that time frame. We'd gotten through a lot of 2020 and COVID, and neither one of us were feeling a tremendous amount of joy with life, just with stress and whatever going on, right? And we had a whole conversation, and he said to me, I want you to have something that makes you feel some more joy in your life. And I picked up a piece and started stitching, and then I discovered all that there was on Instagram, closely followed by discovering Flosstube. And while I was working to embrace my joy from this amazing passion, hobby, some may call it an obsession, I started my own Instagram and eventually my Flosstube, because the biggest reason is I wanted to share friendship with others that like this stuff as much as I do. And that has come back to me in more ways than I could have imagined. And I hope that I share some of that comes across as I talk today and share what I've been working on. So, like I said, I'm Penny's daughter. Penny's daughter shares. And I wanted to briefly remind you of why I chose to name this channel that and use it as my Instagram name. For those of you who have been following along with me, you already know a lot of this. So my mom's name was Penny. This past December actually celebrated, celebrated is not the right word. Recognized the 25th anniversary of her passing. I was very young when I lost my mom. My mom was very young when she passed. In fact, I've lived longer than she had the opportunity to do. I was very, very close with my mom, and I'm sure that sounds cliche to a lot of people, but she truly was my best friend. I miss her every day. And 25 years, I still do this. I think there's no coincidence that 25 years I didn't stitch. And she taught me to stitch. She taught me to sew. She was just fantastic with all of this. And she had a lot of joy from it. I knew I had joy from it. And so now that I'm back with it again, it makes me feel even closer to her. And I find bits and pieces that really bring a rush of warm memories back. So I named it Penny's Daughter Shares to honor her and the reason that I do this, to be honest, and that maybe I can share some of who she was with others and be able to remember her even more that way. So, okay, thank you for letting me get a little, I will gather myself again. And so let me talk a little about a couple of my favorites. And so pennies, you'll see that theme, as you can see right here behind me, is Penny Autumn from Plum Street Samplers. Then also, anytime I can find something that says justice on it, and generally they're patriotic, right? I always need to collect those because of Justice, our middle son, and his name, and he always thinks those things are really cool when I find them and share. The other thing I really like to do is, because you don't see it very often, is something that, and I'll show you one later in the episode, with the letter V for Vivian. You just don't find V's a lot. I mean, honestly, even like a personalized Christmas ornament, let's say, that maybe is monogrammed, you don't even see the V a lot. So, sorry. I still can feel my eyes overflowing. So pennies and justice and V are definitely big themes in projects that I like to do. There's other favorites and stuff that you'll see as time goes on. Obviously, I have some designers that I prefer over others, but not to say that I pretty much love everything. I love neutrals and mixing neutrals. So as I work on decorating my house, that's what I try to do. It's so calming, and yeah, it's a sense of calm that I feel, and it just makes me relaxed and feel cozy and at home. The mixed neutrals, which you can kind of see in my background, right? One of my, well, I'm going to say my favorite fabric designer is Basic Gray, and in particular, the lines that come out in their all neutral colors. So, and my very favorite color is green. And to wrap up sort of me, I love stitching. Love, love, love. And I love planning it, and I love kitting things up, and I love the linen, and I love the floss. But I struggle with the FFO part. And we will definitely be talking about that as we go on. So, in a nutshell, I love, love, love stitching. And I'm really happy to have you join me today. So we're going to move on now to more stitching related, but something I want to just talk to you about a little bit first, because it has come up recently, and I think was from someone that I've chatted with a fair amount. So, like I said, it came up recently, and I used to stitch exclusively using a Q-snap. Everything I stitched, I had to have it in a Q-snap, and obviously that meant the poke and stab method, and all of that. And I still think that's a great way to stitch if that's how if that's how you're comfortable stitching. It does not matter how you stitch, right? All that matters is that it works for you, that you enjoy it, that it brings you joy. It doesn't matter. You can stitch upside down, you can stitch going backwards. I don't know, but whatever it is, hoops, Q-snaps, in hand, Aida, linen, perforated paper, whatever it is, whatever makes you happy, that's what you want to focus on. And it's not about what everyone else does. So like I said, I was exclusively Q-snap. I didn't think I would ever stop using a Q-snap. And in 2022, so just this past year, I was working on a project, and I remember the particular project, and I was having a hard time because I was trying to use a really large Q-snap, and I could not get comfortable to hold it and still stitch. I had tried using one of the stands with a clamp that I could put the Q-snap in and have it on my lap, and I did not like that at all. Not at all. So those of you that can stitch that way, that's really amazing to me because I couldn't do it. So I'm actually going to show you my project really quick that I started doing stitching in hand because I feel like it kind of helps with a little bit of a visual. So it's this finish here, which is Florigraphica from Hicks Creates. And if nothing else, you can go to her Etsy shop and get this pattern. I do know that. So anyway, like I said, I finished this in 2022. So I was trying to have it in a Q-snap, and it was in this really huge Q-snap. So, I mean, here, you can see how big this is. I'm trying to hold it like this and stitch. And I think I was like, this would be so much easier if I could just kind of hold it in my hand. And to be honest, I was a little scared to try to do it that way because of, here's another thing about me and reintroducing myself. I am such a perfectionist in everything I do, and it slows me down and holds me back. and it drives me crazy sometimes. Other times it's useful. Most of the time it drives me crazy. So I had to let go of that. I had to let go of the perfect stitches. I had to be okay that maybe my stitches wouldn't lay perfectly, certainly while I was trying and starting with the stitching in hand method, right? Your tension is different. You have to learn what tension works for you. All of those things. So the other thing too is that I found helpful, and this may help you too, if this is something you're thinking about. This particular project, I love this so much. I think it's beautiful. But I had not put a lot of pressure on myself for this being a really important project. Like, for an example, behind me is What Remains from Blackbird Designs. I stitched that in honor of my mom. And so I had placed a huge importance on that project. And so I felt a lot of pressure for it to be exactly just right. This one, I was just enjoying stitching it, and it was okay because I was just stitching it because I liked it a lot. It wasn't because I was putting pressure on myself for it to honor someone or something. So I felt like this, now looking back, this was the perfect project for me to start stitching in hand with. Because once I started, I felt this huge freedom of not holding what could be cumbersome Q-snaps. Sometimes they're not too big, they're only 8 by 8 or something, and much easier to hold. But when you're getting into the really big ones, not so, it's much more cumbersome. It was for me. So that would be the other thing that helped. Like I said, not so much pressure on myself for this being a perfect stitch, just enjoying it and learning a new technique, if you will. I mean, it was new for me. The other thing that helped is I was showing my progress on this on Instagram, and it tends to help when the designer gives you comments and says, hey, I have a couple of videos talking about stitching in hand and showing it, if that will help you. So yes, I went over there and watched those videos, and thank you, Jan. Yes, it did help. So that's, how I entered into it. Okay, so I already said I had to let go of that perfect stitch, right? Which was a challenge for me. In my stitches, let's be honest here. My stitches are still really, really good. And I'll show you more here towards the bottom, because for sure all of this is done in hand. Still some really nice stitches, right? When I was using a Q-snap, I didn't think this was possible. So it is possible. You just have to practice. Let's see. All right, so when I made the switch to stitching in hand, at first I didn't necessarily stitch differently a lot differently than I had while I was using my Q-snap. But as I've worked on it over the past months, I don't even know, it's been 7-8 months now, I stitch differently. So when I had a Q-snap, I would stitch, I want to make sure I get the wording right here. Okay, I stitched row by row and back and forth, from left to right. And I completed each individual stitch. So every X was completed as I moved my way, so I would do one row going left, and the X's would be complete, and then I'd come back and do a row going to the right, and so on. And obviously, this is assuming you're working on a section that can be divided up that way, right? Now I stitch column by column, and I go, up and down the columns, and I move in general from the right side of the chart over toward the left as a whole movement. I don't know how else to explain it. I still complete each X individually. I can't think of the terminology if you do half of an X and then you go back and do the other half, but I have never stitched that way, and my brain doesn't let me follow the chart that way and be able to complete it. I don't know why, but it doesn't. But again, this is what works for me and makes me happy. It may not work for you, and that's okay. Whatever works is what is important, okay? I'm just sharing my thoughts. One, because it came up recently. Someone was asking me about it who is interested in trying to stitch in hand, and I would say maybe a little scared of it, like I was. Let's see. So now, like I said, column by column, up and down, and I'm going to throw your name out here again, Liz. Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch talked about how she stitches in hand and how she did the columns. And I mean, honestly, when I learned to stitch a million years ago, it was all row by row. It was never in columns. So it's been a big, big shift. But I would never have thought of that idea had I not seen how Liz does it. So thank you, Liz, because you were really helpful in this whole process too. Let's see. Okay, and then, like I said, in general, so if I'm working in columns, in general, I work from the right side of the chart over to the left. It's just easier for, moving from column to column and the way I'm stitching. And so I always used to start in the center. As I've been stitching in the last couple of years, I started doing corner starts, but I would do the upper left corner when I was using the Q-snap. And now I'm stitching in hand. If I start, my preferred start point is the upper right corner. Oh, and I'm right-handed. So if you're left-handed, all of this may be backwards or mirrored for you in terms of how I'm explaining it. Now, when I say stitch in hand, I don't mean that I'm using the sewing method 100% either. I am still doing a lot of the poke and stab method a lot of times. I am working on the sewing method, and I am able to use it at times, but it kind of needs to be kind of a specific flow to, like a section of stitches. I don't know how else to explain it. I'm not doing a good job at the moment, but I'm working on it, and I'm hoping that over time, eventually, it will just be easier, right? And I can use it more and more. Again, I'm learning to not put so much pressure on myself that it has to be this way or that way. You can work in between there along the spectrum. Is that correct? You'd think I could have figured these things out a little earlier in life, but hey, I'm figuring them out now. So just because it's so pretty, I'll show this one more time as I'm wrapping up this little discussion on stitching in hand. And I'll just say, if you have questions about how I stitch in hand, I'm more than happy to try to answer them. You can either leave a comment down below, or you can message me on Instagram, or you can find my email address, which is in the comments below, in the notes below, and send me an email. And I will be happy to try to answer anything that I can. I am far from an expert. I'm just happy to share my own experiences and my own revelations, if you will. So, and again, I just want to say thank you to Jan Hicks and thank you to Liz at Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch, because honestly, you were my two biggest influencers on being able, or allowing myself to be able to do this. So thank you to both of you. All right, and now we are going to move on to the real heart of why you came here, I think. Which, come on, Michelle, let's get on with the program. We want some FFOs and maybe some finishes and maybe some other stitching. So we will get started with FFOs. Notice I'm not in my chair. I need to be able to move around if I'm going to show stuff and not just be chattering away for you. So I'm going to start with FFOs and talking about the FFO Challenge 2023. Now, I talked about this at quite a bit of length in my 2022 FFO Parade video, which you can find on my channel. And if you want more information about what's going on with it, I mean, obviously I'm going to talk about it a little now, but more details and stuff, I don't want to repeat it all because some of you have already seen it and you're like, okay, Michelle, I don't need this again. So for those of you that need to catch up on it and want some more information, definitely check out that video. Like I said, it's the 2022 FFO Parade video. Now I'm doing FFO Challenge 2023 with Jen of Two Tall Stitchers. She's also jenquilter on Instagram. And I'll try to remember to put everything down here for you so you can see it. For sure, a lot of this information is all in the notes down below. So if you feel like you missed something, check it out down there because I try to be really good about that. And again, if you have questions, just let me know and I will do my best to answer. So Jen and I were talking before the end of the year how many FFOs we didn't have, how many finishes we have, and we wanted to get them out and fully finished. So somehow between us chatting, we came up with this awesome brainstorm of FFO Challenge 2023. And just as a quick side note, thank you to everyone who is participating. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting. So thank you. Let's see. Okay, so as a quick reminder, if you didn't remember from before when I explained it or you didn't hear that part, my personal goal is I want to get 2 FFOs done each month for the year. And so 24 total for the year. And I have way more than that to get done, but I'm trying to set myself up for success. That is our phrase of importance. Set ourselves up for success. So I set up a priority list and I kind of, we'll say, penciled in certain months, certain things I intended to get done within those months. And I'm very excited because my January goal, yay, hit it. So and then some actually, yay. But in January, my planned 2 FFOs that I wanted to get done are January wordplay and February wordplay of the entire wordplay series, which is on my schedule for the whole year to get this totally done so that I can look at them all the time. All right, so like I said, I accomplished my goal. So let's not hold it off anymore. Let me show you my January wordplay. First, let me show you a chart picture of the wordplay for January. And da 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 da, here is my FFO. Ooh, I have to back up, it's so big. Ta-da! Oh my gosh, it turned out even better than I planned. So I'm really excited about that. I'm gonna move it a little closer in just a second. Let me explain this calendar piece. It's a perpetual calendar. And I will not for the life of me be able to remember, but someone showed this on Instagram, and it's been a long time. I mean, I'm talking at least 1.5 years. And I can't remember if they were doing the WordPlay on here or something else, but they were using like a calendar type series. And I said, oh, I love that piece. That will be so awesome. Found out it was at Tractor Supply. And I think I showed a picture of it to Jeff, and he thought that it was super cool and had to go to Tractor Supply for something. I don't remember what it was. But he's like, do you want me to look for that for you? And he found it. So here it is. Yay. I do know it's not online at Tractor Supply. Now, whether it was ever, I don't know. And I don't know if this is still available in the store or not. So I apologize if it's something that you're just like, oh, I'm so in love with it and I wish I could have it. But those are the details, because I do get those questions about it. All right, so I'm gonna hold it a little closer for you now so you can see the stitching part and the finishing. Let's see. So really quick, I stitched all the word plays on 40 count Ancient from Picture This Plus. I used 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads, and I stitched almost everything in called for colors. There were minor substitutions here and there for what would show better on my fabric choice. So that's the stitching details. Now my finishing details. The stitching piece, I hand stitched, I'll call it a zigzag, but basically it's a half an X going each opposite way, all the way around the border. I sat down with graph paper, and planned out how many stitches out I needed to go so that my border all lined up at the corners. I'm gonna show that a little closer so maybe you can see it. I backed this with, what is it? Do I want to call it fusible web? I think. Interfacing the lightweight stuff. And then, like I said, I hand stitched just a piece of felt. And it's the inexpensive felt you can buy at Joann's or Michael's. It's all acrylic and stuff. It's not fancy by any means, but it definitely does the job. So I hand stitched it together, and then I trimmed the felt down real close, like maybe there's 1/8 of an inch there. And then I have about a 1/2 inch of fringe that I created. And that's just, you know, pulling threads out of your linen to get the fringe. And I'm so happy with that. I think it looks so good. And then I just attached that to this board that I covered. So that's just a piece of sticky board that I covered with fabric. This particular fabric is a Tim Holtz fabric. And it's a Christmas grouping. I can't remember the name of it though. It is, I know that you can buy it at Fat Quarter Shop. And I just think it looks awesome. Now, eventually I might add a little something to it. Little doodads, a bow, I don't know, a clip. I don't know though. I might not. And then I have this calendar is metal. So I actually got to save a step. I didn't have to glue the magnets on because the metal or the magnets just stick to it easily. So I glued washers to the back of my piece. And so then everything's magnet and I can easily swap it out each month. So that is January Wordplay from Brenda Gervais. Up next is my second FFO for the month of January for the FFO Challenge 2023. I'm going to start with a chart picture here. It is the February Wordplay from Brenda oh my goodness, don't trip over that. Brenda Gervais. And here is the full finish. Ta-da! I need like confetti and I accomplished my goal. And let's face it, FFOs have been a challenge for me to get done. All right, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit so you can see the stitching. Just as a reminder, that is 40 count ancient from Picture This Plus, stitched 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads. I did the same exact finishing on this one. So I spent an afternoon planning out all 12 of these and where, based on the stitch counts of the project, where my little zigzag stitch had to finish in order to get those corners all the same. Excuse me. I do know one detail I did not share. Gentle Arts Walnut is a primary floss color in all 12 of the series. And I felt it was the perfect floss to use to create my border. Because, this basically looks like a trim that I created, right? So I just thought with the variation in the color of the walnut, I thought that turned out really nice too. So same thing, it's backed with interfacing, then I hand stitched it to the felt. Again, inexpensive felt. I bought several yards of it and it's really wide and there's tons of it. It also works as a replacement for batting if you need it. And so hand stitched, then trimmed that felt and then trimmed the linen down. So this is about a 1/2 inch, the fringe itself, and then pulled the threads to create the fringe. You can see that. And then my board here, the fabric that I chose for this one, this is also a Tim Holtz fabric. It is from the same fabric line as the snowflakes, but I thought it was perfect for a Valentine themed project. And I don't know, it's like I planned the colors of the fabric and the floss that I used, and I didn't, right? It worked out that way. And like I said, so I've washers glued to the back of this board, and then I have magnets on the board that I just can take this apart and swap it out like I did in the interim while I paused the video. So that is number 2 FFO for the month. All right, so like I said, FFO Challenge 2023, Michelle's personal goal for January, accomplished. All right. So if you are interested in joining us, we would love that. In fact, we've had quite a few people joining us, and I'm going to call it more motivation and more energy comes in. And you know what that equals? More FFOs for everybody. So now I'm going to move on to, I'm going to call them a bit of bonus FFOs. Not sure how to call it, but let's see. The first 2 that I'm going to show, I have 3 more to show you. That's 5 FFOs. Oh, sorry, side note. 5 FFOs already in the month of January for 2023. 2023 now has 5 FFOs. How many FFOs did I have in 2022? Wah, wah, 4 for the whole year. I'm already ahead of 2022 and January's not even over for 2023 yet. This challenge is working for me. Yay! And like I said, I'm seeing several more people that it's working for too, and that is so exciting. So let's keep it rolling. Let's show the next one. Like I said, I have 3 more. The next 2 were actually on my priority list that I set up that I wanted to get done before the end of 2023. And disclaimer, I know my goal is 24 full finishes by the end of the year. On that priority list, I don't remember my exact number, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 30-ish, which is obviously more than 24. I was hopeful that with the momentum that I could get a few more snuck in. Also, on that list of, let's say 30 for argument's sake, 12 of them are word plays. I already have 2 of those done. And oh, I forgot to share this part. I have the backing board, the felt backing, and I backed the fabric board with a piece of cardstock. I have those 3 pieces cut and ready for the rest of the 10 of the series. And I have the interfacing ironed on, all 10 of them left. So I am really doing well with that finish. That being said, that represents 12 of my 30. So like I said, I was hoping that I could sneak in a few extra and exceed my goal, but it was important to set myself up for success. So I'm going to celebrate every accomplishment that I have right now. So let's talk about the third FFO I have to share. And here is the chart picture. You Are My Love Story from the Trilogy. This was a complete kit. So it came with floss and linen and a couple of charms that go on it. And I started this just because I loved it. In 2022, January, I finished stitching it because I thought it was perfect as sort of like a celebration of our anniversary that year. And then it sat for a year and I didn't fully finish it. But I had plans for it. And you're going to find some similarities here in a second too. So one of the things that got me to pull this out was for our anniversary and I'm like, I am getting that done this year in order to sort of keep going with these FFOs. So I got it done and I was able to give it to Jeff for our anniversary. So here is my FFO. Isn't it cool? Okay, so like I said, this was a kit. So all of that was called for. I think I substituted the color for our names because whatever they had in the kit, it just didn't show very well. And the color I used for our names, I used for this little zigzag that I stitched by hand. And yes, I planned it out and graphed it out. You can see, because this is a larger count of fabric, it's 32 count. Stitched 2 floss threads over 2 linen threads. So you can see it more clearly on this one, how that worked out. So I planned it all out so it would come out even. Now, there's a little bit that's different about this one than how I finished the word plays. And what that is I did not put interfacing on this one. And if you look carefully, I don't know if it'll show in the video, but you can see where, I don't want to call them wrinkles. You can just tell it's not like smooth and flat. And old perfectionist Michelle would have been like, oh, that's not good, that's not good. I think it adds to the charm of this finish, this full finish, right? I have these fringed edges. It sort of gives it a little more of like a quilt or a wall hanging look, right? And so it's okay if it's not pulled perfectly smooth and tight like you want when you're framing something, right? So I'm really just absolutely tickled with how this turned out. So this one I can easily show you because it's just clipped. You can see the clip in the frame. So I'm gonna flip this up really quick, and you can see I just hand stitched it, and that's the felt on the back. Again, that same inexpensive felt. And that's all it is. So I hand stitched that on, trim down the felt. Again, this fringe is about 1/2 inch, and I trimmed it down and then pulled all the threads to create the fringe. This frame itself had the clip, and it came just like this. I mean, I added the bow, but the clip is in the frame. You can kind of see, here's how it looks in the back. It is from Target, but when did I buy it? Oh, I don't know. It's been a while. Maybe they still have them, I'm not sure. And it is yes, it's meant for a 5x7 frame or picture. And then, so I added the little bow. It's just a little piece of sort of burlap looking ribbon. Don't want anything too foo-foo because it's for my husband, it's for a guy, so he doesn't want too much foo-foo, although he does like this stuff, so. Anyway, these are the charms that came in the pack. I added a 2022 charm because that's when I finished stitching this and when I really should have FFO'd it, and then I just had, this little pin that I used, you can't really see it, and a little heart charm. I just bought a pack of charms. There, you can see it a little better. Just to add a little something. So just an easel-backed frame, and I think originally Jeff was thinking about taking this to work and putting it on his desk, and as we talked about it, I don't know, we felt like maybe it was, I don't know, too personal is not the right way to say it, but whatever. Just didn't feel right. So I don't know, he's trying to figure out where he wants to put it in the house, but the other thing I did to personalize this, I know I told you before, but I think it's really cool, is our wedding date in Roman numerals is this, IXVMM, and I added that to the heart. So that is FFO number 3 for the month. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I won't torture you. That's the word I want with my singing. So that is number 3. All right. Number 4. I finished stitching this in 2021. So this one was not even in my finish parade video that I just put up, a week ago? Whatever it was. So the 2022 finishes parade. This was not in there. And disclaimer on this one, I have had it laced on a board for several months. And the original frame that I was going to put it on, which kind of has a decorative background, and it was going to kind of clip to it just like I just showed you. The other one, it did not look good. Once I laced it up and I put it on there and I was like, oh. So it just sat as a partially done FFO because I was stuck. And during our chats, one of them with Jen, when we were talking about some of our FFOs and things we wanted to get done, this one came up and I'm like, look at this. I have it done, but it is not a standard frame size. So it wasn't like I could just buy a frame real easy. And yeah, there's probably other things I could have done, but it was like my thoughts were really stuck on what I had originally planned to do, and the lacing was all done, and now what? Like I was just feeling a little stuck. So when Jen and I talked about it, I can't remember what, I know one of the things that we talked about was maybe I should just order a frame, a custom frame size that fits it. Don't take it apart. Because I debated on taking the lacing apart and changing the size of it. So I'll show you what I could have done. But I didn't do that. So let's get done talking, Michelle. Let's show. All right, here is the chart. It is I Love Fall, Most of All, from Brenda Gervais. And I love this so much. And why did it take me forever to get it FFO'd? Well, that's because it's a challenge for me, I guess. And here is the beauty. Now that I have this done, I am very, very pleased with it. So like let me tell you a little of the stitching details. Let me look at my notes though, because it's been a while. All right, I stitched this on 40 count Heritage from Picture This Plus. I don't know if it shows in the video very well. It's quite green. That means, since it was 40 count, that means I stitched 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads. And I used, I'm just double checking my notes, all the called for colors. Turned out beautiful. I love how I stitched it. So I did not take off. I kept my original. This is the way I had laced it. This is the size and shape. What I found was, let's see, it's April. I'll put her information down below because I'm having a brain moment where I can't remember the name of her Etsy shop. But this board, I'll show you the back of it, is awesome. And she designed it to go with a Scarlet House chart. And I was hopeful that by reading her dimensions of it, that it would work out with my piece. And it is just, I mean, I couldn't have asked for it to be better because there was still just a little bit of wood paddle border that showed when I put this on there. So I was so tickled when it actually came. And so this is just attached. I glued magnets on the board and I have washers on the back of my stitch. Now, when I didn't have the trim on it when I got the board. I found this trim in my collection. It's just out of, I got a big bundle, several big bundles from Michael's, I think it was, that it was like $10 and you got 30 some yards. They're all in 1 yard pieces of trims. Some are, not so great. This one, it was like it was made for this project, I guess. I don't know. I think it looks really good. So I hand stitched that on. I don't play well with glue. I don't feel comfortable with it. That is another challenge for me this year, is to maybe use a little more of it. That maybe life will be a little easier. But for now, I like my needle and thread. So like I said, I just hand stitched this on. It didn't take me all that long. I mean, it's a little awkward because it was already laced on there and stuff, but I got it. It looks good. So let's be happy with it, right? Like I said, magnets on the board with washers on the stitch. So if I want to use this board for something else for another season, I can. And then this is an acorn bell, which I found at Hobby Lobby, and they're so stinking cool. I just love them. And so I couldn't wait to have something to use them on. And then just this little sort of burlap ribbon that I have, and a little bit of twine. And I think that I'm real happy with it. So look, another full finish. And this one didn't take all that much because I was halfway there. So I just needed to essentially suck it up and get a piece to put it on and just say, you know, just get that done, Michelle. So it's like, oh, I can check it off my list and yay, another beautiful finish. So that is full finish number 4 for the month of January. And like I said, all 4 pieces that I've showed you now are on my priority list. So I'm ahead of the game and inching closer, I mean, it's still early, but inching closer to that actually 24 plus full finishes for the whole year, right? Okay. Number 5 is actually a start, a stitchy finish, and a full finish. Who am I? I just am so excited with it. And so, well, first of all, I love the pattern. I love how it turned out. I love the meaning behind it for our family. And I love that I did the whole thing. It's full finished and I can set it out and look at it all the time if I want. Here is the chart picture. It is V is for Valentine from Heartstring Samplery. And let me show you my number 5 FFO and I will give you all the details. Here it is. Isn't it fantastic? Oh, I love this so, so, so much. All right, so we'll start with the stitching details. I'm gonna try to hold it like this so my arm doesn't get too tired. I used 40 count 90s Nirvana from Needle and Flax. That means I used 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads. And I used all the called for flosses, which are a couple of Gentle Arts and a few Weeks Dye Works. So those are the stitching details. Now, when I picked out this fabric to stitch this on, I was able to, you know, kind of cut a big corner out of my fat quarter that I had and lay out my stitching. I had, let's see. Yep, I did. I started in the center on this one because if you look carefully, you can see there's like almost a circle of lighter color and then all this like darker modeling that almost frames it. And so I had it planned always in my head. This is about a 4-inch circle as a finish. Then I wanted to put this in a 6-inch square frame because I wanted to showcase the fabric and the layout of the colors of it. And really, I feel like it enhances the cross-stitch design. And I don't know, I love it. Like I explained earlier, anytime I find things with a V, I think of Vivian. And so that's the reason I picked this chart. I just love the showcase of the V. Let's see. So yeah, those are the stitching details. It was so much fun to stitch. It's just beautiful. I love the colors. So like I said, I knew in my head I wanted a 6-inch frame for it. And I found this on Amazon. It was a 2-pack and it was ridiculously inexpensive. And it's actually a wood frame. And I wasn't sure. Well, I knew I wanted a red frame. When I ordered it, I'm like, okay, I can return it if the color's not right. Because I wasn't sure if it was going to be quite the color I wanted. And when it came, when it arrived, I was like, it's like I had the floss and matched it to the frame. Like maybe I had the frame before and chose a red floss that would match the frame. I mean, how does this happen? I don't know, but I like it. So like I said, it's just easel backed framed from Amazon. And 6x6. So I laced the back of it. Oh, sorry. So I used a piece of sticky mounting board. There's a piece of batting behind this. Stuck to the board, and then I laced my project on it. That is full finish, number 5. And like I said, it is a start, a stitchy finish, and a full finish, all within the month of January of 2023. So, ta-da! Did you get a good look at it? I do. I love when I plan things out and they come out the way I picture them in my mind. All right, that wraps up the full finish portion. I've been pretty busy. I'm not sure how I've gotten all this done, but I think it's just been some motivation, maybe? Or is it the craft is life and my day is not complete without my stitching? It's probably a combination of it all, right? All right, we are going to move on to stitchy finishes. So I've already had 5 stitchy finishes in the month of January. You've already seen Via's for Valentine. I'm going to start with actually my first finish of the year, and it is from the Winter Rose Manor book, but I'm stitched up it's just called the Winter Rose Manor pin cushion. So there's the front of the chart. And I think I had a question about that was it part of this book or was it another separate chart? So as you can see, it's part of the book. And here is my full finish. See, I'm so excited about full finishes, I can't even talk about anything else. It's my stitchy finish. And my details. Okay, so this is stitched on 40 count Brenda's Brew. Yep, I was just trying to double check, which is from R&R. And I believe that's the called for in the chart, but maybe not the count. Maybe the count is different, but the color is Brenda's Brew and is the called for. I used all the called for flosses except the white. I switched that out to be Classic Colorworks Toasted Marshmallow because that's what I used on Winter Rose Manor itself and loved it. And by the way, I love toasted marshmallow so much. Like I keep pulling it out to use as my white in a lot of things I find. So I bought several skeins of it so that I have it around because I like it so much. It just shows so nice, and there's something about it, it stitches really nice too. And I think all of us know what struggle it is to stitch with white or light floss. And this one, again, I stitched this all in hand and look at the white stitches. I mean, come on. That's some nice floss. So I said stitched 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads, or if not, I just did. And so I switched just the one color. Oh, I have a big old, let me get that big old fuzz off there. Okay, here's my finish. And the other thing I did different is, and I did this also on my Winter Rose Manor, I did all the cross stitches as charted for the cardinal. And then I went back over the wing in that called for color for the wing and did satin stitches. And so I'm gonna show that up. You can see that, I think. It shows to me in my point of view at my video. But yeah, so that is a finish. I actually have an FFO idea for this. Not sure exactly when it'll fall into place on getting it done, but I'm going to make it round and put it sort of on a frame or display. Not going to really make it a pin cushion. I just love this so much. I want to be able to really see it. And so I don't feel like the pin cushion, for me, it won't show it off as enough. So yeah, so that is finish number 1 of January. That's a really pretty. I really, really like that one. Could you tell? All right. Now I'll switch my board and try to chat while I'm doing it and not lose track of what I'm doing. So this is going to be finish number 2. And if I clip this on, maybe. I gotta think about which way the board, how I'll hold the board up so that you can see it really good. So I will show you the chart and then I can give you all the stitchy details while I'm showing you the full, I keep saying the full finish, the stitching finish. So here is the chart. It is Chubby Bird from Jeannette Douglas. And I used all the called for flosses, but I want you to take note of the way the acorns look. See how the main part is lighter color and like the shell on the top is darker? The way it's charted is opposite. So I wanted mine to look like the picture. So I swapped those 2 colors and just used them that way. And here is my stitch finish. Isn't it cool? So cute, right? Chubby Bird is so cute. All right, I stitched this on 40 count chamomile from Color and Cotton. Since it's 40 count, that means 1 floss thread over 2 linen threads. And like I said already, I used all the called for flosses, except I swapped how it was charted so that it looks more like the picture. And then the other kind of special thing I had to do was on the chart itself, I think the chart itself had 2022 here. Since I'm finishing it in 2023, I wanted it to say 2023. So, and there's not a list of numbers in the chart. So I think I did a pretty good job of coming up with a 3. It looks pretty good, I think. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then added my initials in there on the other side, which I think, looks like it's supposed to go there. Again, fully finished. I do have a plan. Another sort of round finish, and it's just going to be a little stand, but because I feel like this is real neutral seasonally for me, so I feel like I can have this out all the time, and it's so cute. I want to be able to do that, so I'm just going to put it on a stand, which Yeah, I mean, on the chart, it shows more like a pin cushion. Again, I'll get there. I'll get some pin cushions done eventually, but for right now, that's not my plan. Maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. But so that is finish number 2, right? Yes, finish number 2 from January. And actually, both of those were, well, Winter Rose Manor pincushion I might have started before, just at the end of the year for 2022. So I don't know if I started that in January, but Chubby Bird was definitely a start and finish in January. Let's see if I can get number 3 hooked on here. Yeah, that'll work. Now, disclaimer on this one, because I know sometimes people notice things on the video, and I do know there's a mistake on this, but once I frame it, no one else will never see it. So I don't know if I'll point it out. We'll see as I chat. Let's start with the chart picture, shall we? This is Quilty Love from Lori Holt. Sorry. I don't know if you can see it? The glare on this one's really strong, isn't it? Now, I don't remember the called for, but I decided to just pull my own floss choices. I mean, they're pink and red and white because that's what I liked about the chart. But so I used my own choices on this. Here is my stitch finish. Now, I started this with Mania back in 2021. And so I probably did 1 day of work on it. And then I just pulled it back out this month and finished it. It's very fun to stitch because it's just all these simple blocks of color. So I think that was fun. Stitchy details. This fabric is 25 count Lori Holt Lugana in the color Oatmeal. And I used the modeled side, if you can, I don't know if that's showing up or not very well, but it is the modeled side. The floss choices I made. Let's see, I used Weeks Dye Works Whitewash. Had I known about Toasted Marshmallow from Classic Colorworks when I put this together, I probably would have used that. But, you know, you learn as you go along. Whitewash still turned out real nice. I used, and then 2 Gentle Arts colors. I used Schoolhouse Red and Tea Rose for my reds and pinks. And then her chart picture shows using teeny tiny buttons. I just went into my stash of buttons and pulled out buttons that I liked. And so you can see they vary a little bit. Like this one, I was able to turn the square and I think that looks cool. And I found a little heart button and so I stuck it on one of the red hearts. And then it gives you instructions on how to add the tiny rickrack on it and what to, you know, how to stitch it on. And so I did that. So yeah, and then I squeezed the date and my initials down there within that quilt block. So yeah, that is number 3 finish. And I have a plan for the full finish on this. I have a white, like a distressed white frame that will fit this. And that's my plan for putting it together. I just got to do it. Let's see when I get it done. I'm not sure. This is not on the priority list because I didn't have it stitched when I made my priority list. All right, so that was number 3 stitch finish. Number 4 stitch finish, you already saw in the FFOs. the Valentine. It's really hard to point backwards and like in a mirror. So that was my 4th stitch finish. And I told you I had 5. So let me get number 5 clipped to my board. And then I can tell you the details. Here is the chart picture. Threadwork Primitives, Endless Hearts. You can see that. And I don't know that I would have necessarily picked this up for myself, but I had a really lovely person send it to me and I decided this would be fun. I'm kind of in a Valentine type mood right now to stitch. And so it's been kind of fun to do that stuff. And that's why I stitched this up. So let's see. I didn't make notes because this is so small. I'm pretty sure this is 32 count. Yes. Ale from Picture This Plus. And I made my own choices for the red and green. I used Classic Colorworks, Cherry Cobbler, and Classic Colorworks Pine Needles for the green. I'm really happy with that. I think the colors look fantastic. I added my initials and the date. I just left out these little doodads and put my initials and date in there. And I thought that was fun. If you follow me on Instagram and you saw my stories when I was starting this, so like I explained, I tend to start on, or in the upper right corner for my stitching. And that's what I did. And I had this piece of ale that is only like 6 inches wide, but it was, I don't know, let's say 18 inches long or maybe longer. Okay, so more than enough to stitch this on, right? Well, so I started in the upper corner. Fine and dandy. I had like 1.5 inches of margin so that I had plenty to work with when I go to finish, or, you know, fully finish this. And I started stitching and I'm like, so all the extra fabric is off that side and I'm trying to hold it and it just felt like this really big bunch of fabric to try to hold on to. And I was frustrated and I'm like, I'm just gonna go cut this off. I started it, I measured what I thought was a couple of times, which I did. I measured at least twice. I calculated once instead of more than once. I'm not sure how I got off on my calculation. The measuring I did right. It was my calculation that was wrong. So when I calculated where to cut my fabric, how wide it needed to be, I took the width of what my stitching would be, and I added 1.5 inches. And I stopped there and came up with my dimensions. For argument's sake, let's say it's 9 inches. And I cut it. After measuring to make sure 9 inches, yep, that's what I calculated. And then I started working on the border some more, happy without that big bunch of fabric extra. And I'm going and going and I'm going, I'm more than halfway. There's no way this is gonna fit. And I keep stitching and I posted even on Instagram, it felt like border chicken. Well, I don't like border chicken. So I eventually went, there's no way I'm gonna make this work. So what I did figure out though, is you can see the border's very repetitive, which is a good thing in this case. So what I had, all I had to do, the frog had to come visit. I don't like him either. Border chicken and frogs can just stay away. And so that's what I did. I tore out, like basically I had this whole corner done, and I think I had come down like, not the whole way, but maybe halfway or a little over half. And so I had to tear that out, add like another V over here, and then do the border. So now you can see I have between a half an inch and 3/4 of an inch on each side, which is a little tight for my comfort level. But I plan to make this into a cute little pillow. So first of all, I just need a little bit of a seam allowance, which is fine. And additionally, I've come up with the idea that I think I'm going to take and add like a fabric border, if you will. Yeah, is that what I want to call it? I think. A strip on each end. And so then I can for sure take care of, make sure I have at least enough border that it doesn't look weird around the outside of my stitching. So as you just heard, I have a plan for the FFO on this one too. Now when it's going to get done, I'm not sure. I'd like to get it done soon because I think it will be really fun, but we'll see as plans go on, right? It's all part of the FFO challenge and setting myself up for success. And that means for me I need to keep working on lowering my expectations of myself, because I get crazy lofty ideas and then I can't get things done. And that's not fun. All right, so that is my 5th stitch finish. So fun. So I have on my notes to kind of separate these next couple sort of groupings, but I'm going to just kind of lump it together because there's some overlap. So these are starts, kits that I plan to start, or kitted up projects that I plan to start soon, and a whip, and plans. So see how they all kind of interconnect? Okay. First thing that doesn't really relate to any of that stuff is I wanted to show off this really awesome project bag that I got not too long ago, and I am in love. So here it is. It is patchwork on both sides. Isn't it lovely? Oh, it's beautiful. It's a perfect size. So Jenni Stitching Simply, and she has an Etsy shop, and she has a bag club. I think that's what she called it. I apologize, Jenni, if I'm calling it the wrong thing. Now, whether or not she still has openings in it, I'm not sure. This was not from part of the club, but I did get signed up for the club, and my first bag will come in February. Oh, she has a little, I want to call it a gusset, but I don't know if that's the right word, on the bottom. So it's not perfectly flat. It has just a little bit of depth to the bag. So anyway, I just wanted to show this off because I love it so much, and I can't wait to get some more of these bags. Plus, look at this cute fabric. It's like Christmassy, but it's all like cross stitch. It's so cute. All right. Oh, I almost forgot another detail that I love about this. Look at, she makes this little tag. I don't have a project in here right now, but you can label with this little tag what project is in this bag. Isn't that awesome? I love it. Oh, details. I love details. Okay, so that's sort of related to what I'm going to show you because I have some other stuff to show you, or a couple more bags. As I'm showing my current stuff. All right, so I am going to show you a start, which is a very small start, and I'm actually going to be I'm actually going to be restarting it soon as I get my new piece of fabric. So here it is, A Sweet Song, which is from Teresa Kogut's Patreon. And I just fell in love with this one. I think it is so cute. So I printed it off and kitted it up. And it is, the called for colors are all DMC. I plan to stitch it with all the called for colors. Here is my start. You can kind of see that. And I'm gonna move this fabric a couple times to see if I can maybe get the color to show up. I think it has a much more purple undertone than what I can tell is showing up in the video. Whoops. But let's see. Let me tell you what it's called. Oh, geez. I should have clipped it. I was just trying to be a little quicker. Let's see. My notes say, okay, the color is Barnwood from Picture This Plus. And it's like the perfect color to be stitching this on, in my opinion. I think it will look fantastic. So you're like, why did you say you're going to restart it then, Michelle? Well, I am not happy with the count size and how my stitches are looking. And so before I get any further, I was able to find a piece of 40 count Barnwood. And I got it ordered. I just have to wait for it to show up, and then I'm gonna restart. I'll probably tear this stuff out at some point and put this back in my fabric library because, you know, maybe I can use it for something else. Maybe if I'm not using DMC or some other floss or who knows, it might work fine for me. But all those essentially white stitches, and I'm just not happy with how it's flowing for me. And what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to be stitching what we love. We're supposed to enjoy what we're doing. And if I'm only this far and it's not very fun, I need to change it. So like I said, I love the chart and I want to stitch it up. Here, let's show off this awesome bag. I think I showed it off not too long ago, but this is one of Barry's bags from Stitchfolk with the tomato, and I just love it. And then my little scissor fob, but I like to use it for my zipper pull that I made from Robin's shop, Samplerbird Stitchery. Anyway, oh, love the little stuff, right? So these are small starts. In fact, I'll just show you one little start that I have of the set of 5 here in the interest of time, just so I can show you my fabric choice. This is the Love Notes collection from Brenda Gervais. I have fabric cut and ready for all 5 of the little pillows and would eventually plan to do all 5 as little pillows. And then it calls for all DMCs. I'm using most of the called for, but I do, let's see, I made a couple changes, but you're not gonna see, the only change one that you'll see anything of today is the white. So this red that's here in like these letters and some other places, I wanted a variegated color. So I pulled Color and Cotton Bing Cherry. Let me see. Let me pull these out. I think I can hold them on my board and then you can see them a little bit. Okay. Yeah, okay. Plus, I can show you how I wrap my thread. So I told you I started stitching forever ago, and my mom and I always bobbinated all of our floss, and that's just my organizational way that I prefer. So all my DMC is all bobbinated, and I started doing that with my overdyed flosses too, and that's keeps my heart, my organized heart happy. the Bing Cherry from Color and Cotton that I'm substituting the red. The white, again, Toasted Marshmallow from Classic Colorworks. And then the two greens, I didn't love the shades of the DMC called for with my fabric. So I pulled a couple of overdyed greens that were close to what was called for, but will show better on my fabric, if that makes sense. So here is one little start I have. And I have this one's called Key to My Heart. So it's a whole grid of hearts. My fabric is 40 count Color Happens from Fiber on a Whim. And to be honest with you, I've never seen that color before. I happened to find it when I got to go to Keepsakes a while ago. And it seems to me almost like, right, don't a lot of fabric dyers, they'll have kind of off dyed fabric, and that's what it kind of feels like with this one. And I don't know how to tell you why that is, and if I'm wrong, I apologize to Fiber on a Whim. But like I said, I've not seen that as a color that they sell on a regular basis anywhere else. And so I just kind of thought maybe, but yeah, so like I said, substituting the greens. I have that one, that little bit of a start. And then the other one that I sort of started is called Cupid's Cup, which is the big I Love You a Latte cup. So just a little start there. But like I said, I have all the fabric cut and ready to go. And then I pin a little note on here because I had to fit it within what fabric I had. So some of them I have a little bit bigger of a margin to play with. And so I pinned this little note here to tell me, oh, and then I also look at the color on the fabric and where I want my stitching to lay out. And so I marked this as my top left corner. That's nice. I wrote top left and I put it on the top right. Right? I guess technically it's the top left of the, I don't know. I'm so confused. Let's just say I don't know if I know my left from my right. So I start in the upper right corner. So as I'm holding this is where I want to start. I'm not sure why I wrote top left. I probably should have written top right, but I have it pinned in the corner, in the upper right corner, and I knew that's where I wanted to start from. Whatever. I thought you might enjoy that. I did this for all 5 of them, and all 5 of them say that this is the top left, but it's pinned in the top right. Long story short, it does tell me though how much margin to leave for where I start on my corner. And then I don't have this started, but I have it in the same bag and plan to start it. And I'm planning to use the same fabric that I just showed you, the Color Happens from Fiber on a Whim. This is the forbiddenfiberco Love Trio. And the called for flosses for these are all forbiddenfiberco flosses. Let's see, I'm not sure if I can pull them out easily or not. Let's see. And then I could show them to you. Oh yeah. And they are yummy. The colors are just, let me lay them out here for you really quick. Because I know I have been talking a lot today. I can feel it like in my voice. I want to start coughing a little bit. I'm trying to not subject you to that. Okay. So these are the called for flosses. As you can see, I haven't wrapped these up on the cards yet. But these are the called for flosses for this chart. Aren't they pretty? So I'm really excited to work on stitching that. Like I said, I have kind of this Valentine's Day sort of feeling going on, and I don't know that I'll get, so there's 3 on this chart, right? 3 on this chart, and then the 5 on the Brenda Gervais Love Notes chart. I don't know that I'll get those done because I'm also working on kitting up some spring projects that I'm going to want to start too. And at some point, I think I'm going to get to the point where I'm like, okay, that's enough Valentine's Day. And I don't know when that will be. It's whenever it makes me happy for it to be done, I guess. Or when it would make me happy to then switch to spring stitching, I guess. And so I'll do that when I do it. But for at least the short term, this is what I plan on stitching. And then maybe my Teresa Kogut snowman, if I get the fabric, maybe I'll feel like getting at least some of that done. I don't know if, again, I don't know if that one will get finished before I'm like, okay, I'm ready to put this away. Okay. So those are sort of the starts, kitted up projects that I am wanting to work on. And I'm going to insert here, shameless plug for another project bag that I fell in love with. So I don't have a project in this. I just got a couple days ago. It is from Starry Owl Stitchery. Yes, I said it right. And she does the patchwork on the front and uses a solid piece of fabric on the back. And these are so well made. Also, I love them. I love this French General fabric. In fact, I loved it so much when I got it, I decided that I needed to order some of the fabric. I think I have a problem. But isn't it, it's so pretty. And that was something I didn't say when I was reintroducing myself. So I love green. I'm not a big fan of blue. And I'll tell you why. If I try to wear like a blue shirt, it literally makes me feel blue. And just weighted down and sad. And I don't know why that is. It's been like that for as long as I can remember. I'm just not a big fan of blue. This blue I love, like in the collection. And the other thing I like about this is I think this will be really fantastic with like patriotic stuff with the mix of reds and blues, but they're not like in your face patriotic. And I like that. Okay, so I had to show off that bag because now I'll show off another bag from Tara that I bought, and then I can show you the whip that's in it. So fell in love with this fabric line too, which I already own this fabric line, but the bag was all made. I could just order it and have it shipped to me. Isn't it beautiful? I love it. And then I bought some little plastic tags just from Amazon. They have like a little tiny key ring on them, and I haven't done this yet, but on this one I did, that I labeled it with what project's in here, so it'll help me keep track. So this, I would say, is a Valentine themed bag, but I don't have a Valentine themed project. But this bag relates to the project because red and black are Jeff's favorite colors, and I said I already own some of this fabric. I bought it because I knew Jeff would love it. And someday, I plan to make him a quilt using these fabrics because they're his favorite colors and I think it would be really cute. So anyway, that's all that to show you the whip that's in here. It is Teresa Kogut, Faith, Hope, Peace, Love. And sorry about that little bit of glare. I think you can see it pretty good. All right. Now, I started this with Mania in 2021. And then I don't think I worked on it at all in 2021 anymore. And then I got it back out last year. And I think that I was trying to work on it with someone, and both of us, it was a big old fail. Neither one of us was picking it up like we were supposed to. And then I don't remember when it was, I did pick it up and worked on it for several days. And I think I got like a page finish on it. Now, I fell in love with this. I just really loved it. And I don't know if I started it with this intention or it came up later, but my intention is to stitch this to celebrate Jeff and I the 25th anniversary of our first date, which is October 10th of 2023. So I need to get this done by then. So I'm working on plans to do that. Here is where I'm at. This is so beautiful. I am stitching this on, oh, my notes, where are they? I know it's 40 count. 40 count affogato from Fiber on a Whim. I love this fabric, it's very beautiful. I am using called for colors, which are a mix of DMC, Weeks Dye Works, and Classic Colorworks. However, I made one substitution. This is gonna make you laugh, I promise. The white, I bet you might be able to guess what I decided to switch it to. Classic Colorworks Toasted Marshmallow. 10 bonus points for those of you that guessed. Toasted Marshmallow has this very slight pink undertone in it, and it just flows with this colors so well, and it stands out really nice on the affogato. Okay, so like I said, this is a whip, and I need to get to work on it, but I have all these other things that I want to do too. So I was trying to come up with, all right, can I do a page a month? I don't remember how many pages this is, but let's say I could do a page a month, and I think I would be able to be done before October. But I don't know. And then I'm such a monogamous stitcher when I'm working on things. It's like I can't put it down and switch my brain and then pick something up. Like I don't do well with that. I want to be better about that because it would just, I don't know, it's a little more interesting, but my brain doesn't work that way most of the time. So I don't know who it was that I saw yesterday on Instagram, and they were talking about, and I've seen this before, but it happened to see it specifically yesterday and it gave me an idea. And they called it their 25/7 project, which they were going to commit to doing a project, working on it for 25 minutes, 7 days a week, just for 25 minutes each day until it's done. That way you're just picking it up a little bit each and every day, and over time, you'll be able to finish it. And I think I'm going to give that a try. Now, I might try it for a few days and I might go, no, this is not working for me. What's more likely to happen for me is I go, all right, I'm going to do that first for my stitching time. So when I can sit down today, let's say, this is the first thing I get to stitch on. And I'm going to stitch on it for 30 minutes. And I'm rounding to 30 minutes, by the way, because again, this is how my brain works. So 30 minutes, just put 30 minutes in on it. You can put it away and work on something else. What's probably going to happen, knowing myself at all, is I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to like not be able to put it down because I'm going to enjoy stitching it again. So we'll see. I really do want to try that whole, like I said, my goal or plan that I would work on it for 30 minutes. That would be my first 30 minutes of stitching time each day. And if that will work for me, then I would do that until I finish it. But I'll try it. It's something new and different, and maybe it'll help me to get through this and get it done. All right, let me change my cue card so that I can see my notes here. Okay, so that wrapped up my sort of new starts and kitted up projects that are on deck, if you will, and my whip that is for sure on deck at the moment. So to kind of bring that together, let me wrap up with plans as a whole, okay? So FFOs. I would like to work on at least a couple of my stitch finishes that I showed. But I may get in here and go, oh, I'll pick up, you know, one of my other ones. So I think I showed these before. Here's my cards of my finishes to work on for FFOs that most of these were stitch finishes in 2022, but there's some older ones in there. And then I have this grouping, which is full finishes done. So I was keeping those together. And then I have started another little clip with the things that I'm stitching and finishing in this current year, in 2023, that will be ready for FFOs. So anyway, I want to keep my momentum going with FFOs, even if I'm just picking up some things and making some plans with it, but maybe I'll feel the energy to actually get some more done too. So we'll see, but that's kind of where my brain is going. With that, the other part of that is I am going to be for sure, well, that kind of wraps it up. Okay, I'm repeating stuff. So for FFO Challenge 2023, I'm going to be doing some planning and organizing and doing for it all. So like Jen and I will have another chat time soon. We're working on planning that out so that we can talk to each other about what our plans are for February, or what our goals are for February, so we can help, you know, encourage each other, which has been such a big deal for me. She tells me it's a big deal for her too. And I'm getting responses, and people are posting on Instagram with the hashtag and explaining that we're encouraging them too. So it's helping a lot. So that is on my plans for sure, is sort of planning, organizing, you know, continuously with the FFO Challenge 2023. If you haven't joined us yet and you have a pile of finishes to work on, join us, please. And I can promise that you're going to get some encouragement and it's not going to be expected how much it helps. So, anyway, if you're interested, it would be great to have you join our group. And like I said, so actual doing FFOs, I would like to do maybe some Valentine stuff, or maybe I'll pull out from my pile. And actually I won't just pull out from my pile, I'll pull from my priority list if I pull something out. Then I already talked about Love Notes from Brenda Gervais and Love Trio from forbiddenfiberco, and then the Teresa Kogut, the Faith, Hope, Peace, Love sampler, and possibly a sweet song, The Snowman from Teresa Kogut's Patreon. Those are my plans. Those are pretty big too. But oh my gosh, so much fun. Like I'm like, okay, let's get this video done so I can go do that stuff. I hope you enjoyed our time together today. If you did, would you please like and subscribe down below? And as a reminder, just because I didn't realize this until recently, if you want to tap the bell down below, you can also receive notifications from YouTube that I've uploaded new videos. I also want to say thank you for all of you that take time to send me comments. They are lovely, and my whole intentions or my goals with doing an Instagram and doing Flosstube was to share friendship and to share kindness. And I always think of kindness from me as going out. And so when I receive it back, in this case in the form of your comments, it really feels like a circle that just keeps feeding on itself. And I really appreciate that and enjoy it. I also want to say, as always, thank you for sharing your time with me, and I will talk to you soon.